What's up, y'all? Alvin here, and in this video, I'm going to show you my 5 favorite flies to catch bass on during the summer.
I tell the good jokes.
All right, let's get into it. So, in case you don't know who I am, I have been a fly fishing guide for bass since 1996. And I've been fishing for bass with a fly rod since 1976. So I've been at it a while. And these are my faves. And we're gonna go in order of, the day. Like, what am I gonna use first? And then what am I gonna use after that? And I'll tell you a little bit why. Okay, so to start with, early morning and during the summer, you definitely wanna get out super early in the morning. I'm gonna use a popper. And this is my popper. This is the Dedeaux popper. This is one that you can buy now. I'll leave a link in the description. And it doesn't have to be this exact popper. And it could be a variation. It could be a frog pattern. But basically, the first part of the day is the best time to catch bass on the fly during the summer on the surface. So, and that's my favorite way to catch them. I mean, I like catching them anyway, but my favorite is definitely going to be on the surface. So first thing in the morning is your best chance to catch a fly on the surface. And I'm going to start with a popper or maybe some type of frog pattern. All right, moving along. So it starts getting a little bit warmer. Maybe they're not hitting the surface. Maybe summer fish are hitting the surface and others are not wanting to come up. I'm going to switch over to some type of diving fly. This, once again, is one of my patterns. I call this the snake, but basically it's like a deer hair diver with a rabbit strip tail. So this one will float until it gets waterlogged, and then it'll sink a little bit. But if you strip it, it will dive. And so if the fish aren't coming up to the surface, but they haven't moved all the way back into the deep water, there's still a pretty good chance that they'll be looking up, and something like this will get the job done. The other thing you can do as the water warms up, if you wanted to keep this fly on, because it does move a lot of water, and sometimes it'll get those fish to strike when they're not super aggressive. You can fish this on a sinking or a sink tip line, and it will dive, and it will give it a lot more action because it does have some buoyancy. So the line will pull it down, and the fly will want to float back up. And you get a lot of action out of a diving bug, a deer hair bug, whether it's on a floating line or a sinking or a sink tip line. All right, now as the day warms up, we're going to go a little bit deeper even, and I would probably switch over to something like the old game changer. Now this fly is super deadly, and this is basically like a little baby bass color. And it doesn't have to be this exact same pattern, but just a game changer of some sort. Typically they sink pretty well, so you can get them down a little bit deeper, definitely deeper than, the deer hair fly. And the action is just crazy. And they come in all kinds of different sizes and colors, so you can imitate just about any little bait fish that you want with the game changer. But that would be what I would switch over to, as the day warms up. So we're not down super deep, but we definitely want to get deeper with this than we would with a deer hair diver. All right, as the day warms up, we're going to want to get deeper. So my go-to is going to be a Clouser minnow. Now, the Clouser is like one of the deadliest flies out there. I've caught more fish on a Clouser than just about any other fly out there, including my patterns. It doesn't have to be chartreuse and white, but this is, once again, probably my favorite color. I've probably caught more fish in fresh and saltwater on a Clouser in chartreuse and white than just about any other fly out there. Now, another fly that does a really good job for, the heat of the day is the Crelex. And it looks a lot like a Clouser, but it is a different pattern. And this one is good sometimes when maybe the water's not as clear as you would like it to be, or the fish are starting to get a little bit more sluggish because the water temperature comes up. A lot of times I feel like something with a little bit more flash will make them a little bit more likely to hit the fly. And like I said, you can vary the color quite a bit. A dark colored Crelex in like black or purple even is a really good fly when you're trying to catch some fish in some murky water. All right, so this last one, I don't even know what number we're at. I did say 5 at the beginning, and maybe we got more than 5. This last one though is kind of a surprise, and it's the mouse pattern. So I have caught a lot of really large bass, both early and late in the day on the mouse pattern. And the mouse was, you know, probably my wife's favorite fly to fish with. And it's funny because this pattern's been around forever, and people who are not real familiar with bass flies, a lot of times when I used to work at the Austin Angler Fly Shop, people would come in and they'd see the mouse and they go, well, that's cute, but do fish eat it? And for the longest time, I sort of was like, nah, not really. That's just something that people buy because it's cute. But my wife started fishing with them pretty seriously, and I watched her catch some really, really nice bass on the mouse. So I think everybody should have at least one mouse in their box. Maybe start the morning off with the mouse, or maybe start throwing that mouse right before it gets dark. All right, if you need some more tips on how to catch fish during the heat of the summer, or if the water's muddy, or if it's windy, you should definitely check out that video right there.